Welcome back to Southern Character. I'm your host, James Lewis. Today I am at the Sea Pines Resort at the Harbour Town Golf Club, sitting down with Gregg Russell, the great entertainer, the Pied Piper of Harbour Town. Gregg, we were just talking a minute ago. You have a new documentary on Apple. Was that released this year?
Apple TV, yeah, it was released early June.
Right. If This Old Tree Could Talk?
Yeah, the subtitle is If This Old Tree Could Talk. As you know, I sing under a great big old 325-year-old oak tree.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, when I first got here back in the mid-'70s, that tree was kind of scrawny and bare, and it had been through some trauma, I think, because they built the big seawall around to build the harbor and all that, and got into the root structure of this tree. And over time now, over my 47 years, this thing has flourished and become an attraction of its own. It's such a beautiful old tree. But I, in my heart of hearts, think that that tree has given out a lot to people, but I also think it has absorbed the energy of all the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of kids and families who've sat under that tree and done this family thing together. I think both have gained from it.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. So 1977, that's when you first set foot on the island. Now, I'll just say, I'll plug it all day long. I watched the documentary, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. There are a couple parts that got me, right in the feels, and I would encourage anybody listening to download it, buy it, rent it, whatever you need to do. But right now it's available on Apple. I guess you said later this year.
In the fall it's coming out on the other platforms, but it's exclusive to Apple TV right now.
Yeah. When we were planning to come to Sea Pines, we usually come here every other year or so. And, it was funny. I told my wife that I was like, I got an interview with Gregg Russell, and she told her mom and dad, and her dad, they live close by. They live like a half mile from us in Sandy Springs, Georgia. My wife's just a good old Georgia girl, but her dad disappeared for a minute and came back out, and he produced a cassette, which apparently he had bought at one of your shows back in 1987, 1986.
That's crazy.
It actually has written on the cassette, 10th season.
Wow.
10th season. And I don't know if it's your wife's handwriting or what.
No, it was probably me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have beautiful handwriting. Your penmanship's exquisite.
No more. I've gotten shaky lately, so it's not so good anymore.
Because they brought their family every year. Amanda has two older siblings, a brother and a sister. And they would come to Sea Pines, and they would listen to you play, and they bought the cassette. And so her dad brought it out, and then realized that we don't have a tape player, so we went over to he went over to Amanda's grandmother's house, because she has a tape player. And we played it for our kids. And then we went out to your last show of the season, actually on Saturday night. And so Amanda's kids got to experience the full-on Gregg Russell, man. And I got to tell you, you are, I don't know, it's almost like you're, the Jimmy Buffett for children. It's crazy. You got me. You were asking the audience, how high is that lighthouse? And you said, if you go all the way to the top, tell me what you said. I fell over laughing.
I make a little joke. I say every now and then, if you climb to the top of the lighthouse and look around, it doesn't happen often, but every now and then, if you look down, you might see a Democrat. This is, as I always say, Republican yuppity doodahville.
Yeah, it is. For sure.
People say, well, he's that guy that does that kids show in Harbour Town.
Right.
But fully 2/3 of my audience is adult, and maybe a third is kids.
Right.
And I'm known for the interaction with the kids and all that. But if it were just a kids show, I don't think parents could bear to sit there night after night after night.
They don't serve enough alcohol at the Harborside dock next door.
So I have to do a lot of things that maybe fly over the head of the kids and hit the adults. But, I walk a very fine line in today's world. It has changed so much over my 47 years of what you can say publicly and what you can't. Somebody's offended by almost everything or anything you say.
Yeah.
So I try to make it look easy, but, I always tell people, whenever is my last night there, whenever that's going to be, you're going to want to be there, because I'm going to say everything I ever wanted to say.
Well, I hope that isn't anytime soon. But I mean, to shine a light on it. I mean, it's 1977 to 2024. I mean, that's 47 years. Now, I want to go back a little bit in time, talk about before Hilton Head, how Gregg Russell got here. I had actually, until we were at the show the other night, I had no idea where you were from. You said you were from Alabama.
I grew up in Birmingham,
Okay.
one of 6 kids. I had that kind of ride your bike 10 miles from home kind of childhood. Got off the school bus and played wiffle ball and football and everything every day.
Nice.
Kind of an idyllic childhood growing up in Birmingham.
What did your parents do?
My dad worked for a big Fortune 500 company. Mm-hmm. He actually was a dynamite expert. So when they were cutting all the interstates and all those big roads you see carved through mountains and stuff.
It was granite.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that did those shots that took those mountains out.
Wow.
Yeah, he went to an Ivy League school. His parents immigrated into New York City, and it's one of those stories.
So did you go to Bama or Auburn? Or?
I did not. I went to a private boarding school for high school down in Florida, outside of Orlando. I had a very good friend who was going to go away to school. And we came from a very modest family, but this family had an only child. And I was very close to this family, and they were very wealthy, had a big construction company. And they offered to my parents, if my parents would allow me to go away to boarding school with their only son, that they would pay for it.
Right.
And my parents, I guess, were wise enough to let us go. And so I was lucky enough to get to go away to boarding school, a very fundamentalist, kind of straight-laced Baptist boarding school. Billy Graham's children went there. Wow. A lot of missionary kids and all that. So I went away to high school, and all my buddies were going to Alabama and Auburn, and I had a chance to go to undergrad at the University of Tampa, and then did some grad school at the University of Florida. And actually, I was playing in bars and stuff when I was in college, but then I auditioned and got a gig working at Disney on the weekends when I was in school to make a little extra money. And then I'm getting ready to finish up school. I had no idea of what I was going to do, where I was going to go. And a guy from Atlanta, Georgia, a guy named Frank Hanshaw, walked up to me and he said, "Hey, I'm an agent, and I've got a lot of places that I book up and down the East Coast. I've got a 2-week job on a place called Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. You'd do well there. Would you like the gig?" And of course I said yes.
Yeah.
Came here and spent 2 weeks, and I thought that was the end of it. And I went in to pick up my little meager paycheck, and there was this gruff old guy that worked here back then, and he said, "Well, I hadn't seen you, but I hear you're doing good stuff down there, and then I guess if you want to stay 2 more weeks, you can." So I stayed 2 more weeks and 2 more, and that's become 47 years.
So you may have said this on the documentary. Were you classically, musically trained? Like, do you know how to read music, or you just play by ear? Or?
I can't read a note.
Yeah, me either.
Now I can read chord charts.
Yeah, right. I mean, you can read like a G, a C, a D. Like,
yeah. And I have a nice
You can read tablature, but I mean,
piano in my house, and I can kind of plunk it and pick out chord structure and stuff. But no, I'm not trained at all.
And when you were working at Disney, was it a street performer deal?
Yeah,
or was it kind of like...
I was part of a trio. Okay. There were 3 of us, and back then, Disney was just really coming along and didn't have as many attractions, certainly, as it has now. So they had a lot more live entertainment back then.
And this is mid-'70s, right?
Yeah, really to distract people from the long lines and the heat. And, there weren't a lot of shady places then.
Right.
Because they clear-cut everything. And so that's how it really started for me. And it was such a great training ground.
Well, that's what I want to ask you. Did they give you, what was, like, you think about that training, like how to entertain a crowd, how to engage a crowd? Is that really what you learned there?
It wasn't enough to just sing songs.
Right.
And right now, I don't make a living singing songs. I make a living in between the songs, interacting with people.
Right.
And in this case here, it's mostly kids, but as you may or may not know, for 30 winters, I played the ski resorts, Aspen and Vail and Beaver Creek and Keystone. Rowdy, beer drinking, stand on the tables kind of shows.
Not children.
No. And I've done over 1,000 cruise ships from Australia to the Mediterranean, everywhere in between, wearing a tuxedo with an orchestra and still doing the shtick, but for adults.
Right.
I did hundreds and hundreds of college campuses, corporate events, festivals, everything you can think of. So I had to learn to be somewhat of a chameleon, but knowing that the common thread between all of those different venues and audiences was the ability to get people to laugh and be engaged.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the trick, man. It's, I think about that as someone who, just launched a podcast, Southern Character. We share stories of grit and grace. What advice would you give me about trying to engage an audience or anyone who's maybe kind of starting out in your field, whether it's music or anything like that?
Yeah, when young people approach me now, I just tell them, whatever you do, it has to be authentic.
Love that.
And it has to be genuine. What I do, what you see me do, comes from, it's who I am.
Yeah.
I was always the camp counselor kind of kid sitting around a campfire with a guitar, singing. And I noticed that the girls liked that, and so that was kind of cool. But as I found as I got into it, if you can make people laugh, then they become your friends, and they're much easier to accept what you're doing. So, I can get serious and heavy-hearted if I want to or need to. I do a lot of public speaking, and in the first 20, 30 minutes, I tell stories and get people to smile and yuck a little bit. But then I like to deliver a message. And in the Apple TV thing, I think you saw the guys delivered. We have a little children's charity here.
Yes, sir.
It's near and dear to my heart. And, that's the kind of thing that touches people. But it's genuine, it's authentic, and we don't wear it on our sleeve, but it's a very important part of our lives.
No, it's a huge deal. And I spent, so it's Hilton Head Heroes. Is it hhiheroes.com? What's that?
Just HHHeroes, .com.
hhiheroes.com.
Yeah.
So you and your wife are on the board, and Jim Nance.
Yeah, our buddy Jimmy Nance. And
who was also, how did you get Jim Nance to agree to be the narrator for the Oak Tree?
Jimmy and I have become very good friends.
Awesome.
We're sitting in the Harbortown Clubhouse here overlooking the Harbortown Golf Course. And every April, the week after Augusta,
Heritage,
all the pros come here, and it is telecast by CBS. And Jim Nance is the lead guy there.
Yes, he is.
And I'm always performing during the Heritage Week. And Jim came up one night after a show because his little daughter Caroline, 4 years old or so, was kind of smitten. And he said, "Man, this is great."
Did you pick Caroline Nance? Did you get her?
No, I had no idea. He said, "I had no idea this kind of thing was going on."
Oh, wow.
She tells me, "We're going out there every night." So that's how I met Jim, and he invited me to come up to the tower on 18. And so one year I did that, and we just became great friends.
Wow, what an amazing experience.
And have been for, 35, 40 years or so.
Yeah.
And we stay in constant touch. There's never been a broadcaster, in my mind, who else can do the NFL season, do the Super Bowl, including on-field presentation, go to Augusta, do that, and then Final Four and all the other things that he's done. There's nobody his equal. And I will tell you that he may be the nicest human being I've ever met. Talk about authentic and genuine. What you hear on the air, that's Jimmy.
That's real Jim.
That's who he is.
Yeah, no, so I was looking at the website. So it's a registered 501c3, and you guys are absolutely taking donations. And I guess one of the ways, so you've been doing this for over 20 years, the charity piece.
Yeah.
And for a long time, the idea behind it was you had a house and basically invite families that had children that had, whether terminal diagnoses or come stay and get away from the the tubes and the IVs and the doctors and just be together.
Yeah, just be together as a family.
Yeah, I was scrolling through and looking at the testimonials and reading the stories, and it's a beautiful website. You guys did a great job with it. One of the headlines really jumped out at me. It was like, "Thank you for the calm before the storm," or something to that effect. And yeah, I mean, I can say, like personally, losing my sister in 2012, one of the things I remember most was like a couple days before she passed, we just went to one of her favorite spots. We're from New Orleans, and there's a club, a yacht club, Southern Yacht Club, out on the water there, and there's a pool that's out there, and we went out there and we sat in the pool, and we were, my sister and I just sat there. And when I read those testimonials, that's what like pulled forward for me, and it's like I just want to say it's an incredible thing that you're doing with that.
Well, thank you, and I have to give most of the credit to my wife Lindy, who day to day has run this thing for over 20 years, and to have over 1,000 families come and spend a cost-free week here,
right?
It's a lot of touches long before they ever get here. They get referred to us by children's hospitals, social workers, that sort of thing. Some of them don't have phones. I mean, and so to communicate and set it up where they show up in this 5-star ultra luxury resort can be a little intimidating,
sure.
Number one. But I think if you talk to most of them, they found it so incredible that a community like this would invite them in, bring them in, embrace them and love them for a week that they're here, and then follow up for years afterward, I think is pretty special.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. So going back, when you first came here, when you first set foot on the island, well, I think you even quipped, like you didn't even know where it was. Right?
No, I couldn't even find it on a map.
And I was telling Amanda when we were driving in, I don't know how many stoplights we hit, and I was like, Gregg said when he first came to the island, there weren't any stoplights between Hilton Head and Savannah.
That's correct.
And I swear we passed through 47.
Yeah,
at least on the way in.
Yeah, hundreds of them. And you took these little back roads to get here. There weren't any 4-lane highways back then. This was a very quiet little place. I think 3,000 or 4,000 permanent residents lived here when I got here.
Wow.
And now, I don't know what the latest number is, probably 40,000 people live here, and we get about 3 million visitors a year.
That's amazing.
So it's become
3 million a year.
Quite the destination. And yet, even with the 3 million people, the thing I find interesting is people always tell me, well, it doesn't seem crowded. There are no high-rise buildings here. We're in one of the tallest buildings on Hilton Head, and we're at treetop level.
Right.
Nothing can be built taller than the tallest tree. So we'll never have 26-story Myrtle Beach high-rise condominiums. Everything is built to scale, and that's why it feels so good.
Yeah. If you have never been to the Sea Pines Resort, I have to say it's one of the greatest places to vacation in the Southeast. It's absolutely beautiful. So when you first came here, speaking of which, not even knowing where it was, you didn't have a place to stay either, right?
I did not back then.
So how old are you? Are you 21 years old?
Yeah, no, I'm out of grad school now.
Okay.
So I'm in my mid-20s.
Okay.
But I came here for a 2-week gig, and I had because I was playing a lot of other places as well. I had rigged out an old Chevy van with a little bed in there and a place in the back for my equipment. And I just thought, I'll just come here and find a place to park my van.
Just camp out.
Yeah, so there's a little shopping area called Coligny further up the beach. And nice guy there that owned the grocery store, I asked him, can I park behind the grocery store and plug in a little fan and just stay there for my 2 weeks? And he said, sure.
So is this the little Piggly Wiggly?
Yeah.
That's at Coligny Square right now?
Yeah. It used to be called the Red and White. And so I would park there.
And use their electrical.
Plug in, use their electrical, go to the beach during the day, whatever, come down to Harbour Town at night, unload all my equipment, and then go down to the marina by the lighthouse, take a shower after I unloaded the equipment because, we have some humidity here.
A little bit, yeah.
And then I do my 4 or 5 hours for the night, then pack up my equipment again, take another shower, go back to Coligny and park behind the grocery store.
Do you still have the van? I'm just curious.
I wish I did.
Is it like at the Hilton Head Museum of?
I wish I did have it. It was a great van.
Yeah.
But I did that for a good portion of the summer. And then Charles Fraser, our developer, visionary, incredible guy, walked by one night, and I knew who he was. He's just a legendary figure.
Yeah.
And he walked by, and I'm packing up my equipment, and he said, "Hey, I'm taking some guys out on my sailboat tonight, some insurance executives or something. You want to go out on a moonlight sail?" Sure. So we went out and sailed around, and Charles is telling stories and charming these guys and probably trying to raise some revenue.
Sure.
And when we got back into Harbour Town, his docking space was right next to the Liberty Oak there where I now perform. My boarding school training kind of kicked in. I stayed behind to pick up beer cans and straighten up the sailboat a little bit. And he said, "Sit down, I want to talk to you." I thought, oh, great, this is how they fire you, take you out sail, and then the developer fires you. And he said, "Where are you living?" And I didn't know if he knew I was living in my van. Mm-hmm. And what I wanted to say was, well, I'm not making enough money and you're not providing housing for me, but I'm living in my van down near the beach. And he said, "Well, where would you like to live?" So I'm sitting on his sailboat right there in Harbour Town where there are shops and condominiums above the shops. So laughingly, I pointed at one of the condos above the shop. I said, "Well, I'd like to be living up there." Well, the next Friday when I went in to pick up my little paycheck, there was a handwritten note from Charles, which I still have. And there was a key Scotch taped to it.
Yeah.
And he said, "What you're doing with little kids and grandmothers and everybody in between is exactly what I wanted Harbour Town to feel like at night. Here's a key to one of those condos. You can live up there rent-free for as long as you want to stay." So I moved up there and lived up there for about 4 years and got established around the country, started doing the ski resorts.
So you literally made Harbour Town your home.
Literally.
So you just emanated from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of former executives from here. This was like the Nick Saban of resorts.
Okay.
If you worked for Charles Fraser,
Yeah.
you went from here and became the president of Vail Associates, or you became the president at Deer Valley, or wherever, these great resorts all over the country. So I find in time, these guys are calling me and saying, "Hey, you're at Sea Pines in the summer. What are you doing in the winter? You want to come to Colorado? You want to come to Wyoming? You want to..."
That's amazing.
And so
your whole network really kind of sprang from
every
here.
good thing that happened to me happened as a result of being here. Charles Fraser was the chairman of the 1982 World's Fair, which was in Knoxville, Tennessee.
The Sphere, yeah.
So the first 6 weeks of the fair and the last 6 weeks of the fair were in the spring and in the fall. I was here all summer, but Charles took me to Knoxville to be one of the headliners at the World's Fair. And the head of entertainment for the World's Fair, when it was over in October, became the head of entertainment for the largest cruise line operator in the world. And he took me and 2 other guys along with him to the cruise ships. And here I am 40 years later, done over 1,000 cruises all over the world. So, one little dot connected to another dot to another led me to this career where I've never been out of work, probably been overworked, and never thought about, oh man, is this going to work out or not? Right. It just did. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other, and it worked out.
And so I was wondering that if you were only, because your season in Hilton Head, I know it's full bore, really, Memorial Day to Labor Day, but you start in March, April, right? With like some
a few weeks in the spring,
But so if you're performing March to call it end of August, early September, then I thought, okay, well, where does he go after that? But I mean, this is home.
Yeah.
for you. This has been home for you since.
Yes. I've always had a place here. When my wife Lindy and I first got married, I had a TV deal, and she had a TV deal
Really?
in Nashville.
And when did you guys meet?
We met, boy, she'd kill me if I got this wrong. In the,
we could be a little fuzzy on
in
it.
the late 80s,
Yeah, okay.
you know, next month we're celebrating our 35th
Congratulations.
anniversary on a river cruise in Europe, by the way.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
that's
Are you
what
going to
we're
perform?
doing. No, not on that one.
Good.
But she was, along with her two sisters, were flight attendants. And they owned a log cabin out in Keystone, Colorado. So I used to perform out there, and eventually I owned a club at Keystone called the Last Chance Saloon. And we had a 2-hour wait to get in there every night. And I'd play early in the evening, doing all my rowdy stuff, and then we'd have a rock and roll band play till 2 or 3 in the morning. So these 3 beautiful flight attendants, I knew when they'd come into town, I'd sneak them in the back door of our club. It's about a 300-seat club. And my guy Randy, who works for me now,
Yes.
was our head bartender.
Okay. Because you said the other night at the show, you've known Randy longer than you know
I
your
have.
wife. Okay.
I was with Randy.
So he was your bartender. What was it called? The Keystone? Club?
It was called the Last Chance Saloon.
Last Chance Saloon. Okay.
Yeah. And so I'd say to Randy, take care of these girls
These
while
fine
I'm,
women, yes.
doing my thing there. So one winter, I was actually much friendlier with my wife's older sister because she was dating a musician friend of mine, and we'd all go skiing together. So I told her older sister, hey, I'm going to be in Miami in a few weeks, getting on a cruise ship, and I have a layover. I'll call you and maybe we'll have dinner or whatever. She said, great. So I got to Miami. I called the only number I had for her, which was their condo that they shared together, the two sisters shared together. And I said, hey, I'm Gregg Russell. I'm from, Colorado. She said, oh, yeah. I saw you out in Colorado. I said, well, I was calling your sister to see if she wanted to have dinner or something. She said, my sister's on a trip, working a trip, but I just got in, and if you don't mind if I come in jeans and a sweatshirt, I'll pick you up and we'll go to dinner. We've been together ever since.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Fast forward now, 47 years, here. Are you going to go for 50? I mean, you said the other night that your contract was renewed. Right?
Yeah,
for
we'll
one more
definitely
season?
be back next summer in the spring.
Okay. So we have 2025 to look forward to.
Yeah.
But you still have shows coming up. You do a show Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And the Friday after Thanksgiving and the day before Christmas Eve. You still have 2 more shows.
Well, we do the night after Thanksgiving, which turns out to be the biggest night of the year for us.
That's what I would think.
It's massive.
Yeah.
Because so many people come into town to visit Grandma or just come down for the weekend.
Right.
And then we do a Christmas show on the 23rd every year. I do half of a regular Goofy show, and then we do half of a candlelight Christmas, very touching kind of thing. And those are fun nights. But back to your question, I'd like to hit 50 years. I've had some medical challenges.
Yeah.
My wife has had some medical challenges. This summer I missed some time. I do a little boat cruise for
the
150 of my
cruise,
best
right?
friends
Yeah.
every Friday.
So, it's not just the oak tree, right? I mean, you have the cruises, too.
Yeah,
so.
we do that because I like to introduce kids to the environment of
Right.
seeing dolphins and manta rays out there. And it's just
that's
incredible
That's a great idea.
to come out here and see how pristine it is, and to just give them little life lessons about how important it is to take care of the environment, whether it's here or wherever they live. But I was doing one of those, and it was over 100 degrees that morning, and I just felt woozy, and Randy, my guy, was with me, and I handed him my guitar, and I just thought, if I could just go sit on that bench for a minute, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And, I woke up 2.5 hours later in the hospital from a heat stroke, extreme dehydration. I've been doing this my whole life. I grew up in Birmingham, for God's sake.
Right.
I'm used to the humidity. But I went down.
Yeah.
And
That's
I don't
scary.
remember any of it at all. But either I was hallucinating or I could like hear voices off in the distance. Luckily, there was this great big 6'5" Marine medic on board.
Who has just happened to be on board?
And I'd visited him with him a half hour earlier talking about thank you for your service and, all of that. And his 2 little kids are with him. But he took over when I went down. And I believe, my docs believed, if he hadn't been there, it'd been a different story. But when I was out, they could have offered me $100 million to get off of that boat. I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't lift my head.
Yeah.
But I heard these voices, often. And I swear to you, I heard a little kid in his Georgia accent say, "Mom, Gregg Russell's dead." And I thought, maybe I am. Maybe this is what it's like. I can't move. I can't open my eyes. And they're dumping buckets of ice water on my head and chest. Got me into an ambulance, got me to the hospital. And wouldn't you know, my regular doc is on duty at the hospital in the emergency room.
Really? That's lucky.
Day.
Okay.
So, it worked out fine. But I got to tell you, brother, it got my attention.
Yeah, scary.
I'm not as young as I used to be.
Yeah.
And, last summer I had a little heart thing. And then this summer I kind of went through that. And it gets your attention.
Yeah.
So I may not work maybe as much as I have in the past. I've cut my regular performance schedules all over the world down to, I used to do 200 nights a year for 40 years.
Are you still moving as much as you were?
I might do 20 nights a year now, but I pick and choose those.
Sure.
I have no desire to add to my 5-6 million frequent flyer miles to go to Topeka, Kansas, to sing at some guy's birthday party. I just no desire whatsoever.
Well, yeah, you've elevated from there, right? That's one of the things I was gonna ask you when you had the club in Colorado. Was there a band that came through one night in particular? Like not that you have to name your favorite, but you said you have a rock and roll show after your show. Did anyone ever come through like the Rolling Stones or like somebody like that?
No, nothing like that. It was kind of a small venue, and most of these bands came out of Denver and Phoenix and Aspen. They played the ski resort.
Gotcha.
Some of my good buddies. I know you're from Atlanta. I learned so much from my good friends Banks and Shane.
We were walking on the beach yesterday, and these 2 guys came up. They're like, "Oh, can we see your dogs?" We're like, "Sure." And we said, "We're from Atlanta. Where are you from?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, Sandy Springs, Roswell." And they started talking about Banks and Shane.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Legendary guys out of Atlanta, Banks Burgess and Paul Shane, and they had a band. And they had their own little nightclub a couple of times, but they played in underground Atlanta and the old Steak and Ales. And I got on that circuit as well. But I'd finish a gig earlier, and I'd go wherever they were just to watch them, because their whole thing was they played great music, but they did all that shtick, in between the songs that I just absorbed like a sponge. They would play in Colorado during the winter sometimes as well. So guys like that were just fun, and the music back then was great. It was golden age of you could play stuff out of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and danceable and fun and real rowdy stuff.
So you and Lindy got married, you said, in the late 80s, right?
Yeah.
And you have 2 daughters, Madison and Mackenzie?
Yes.
Right? Okay. And so how old are they?
32 and 30.
Okay. Now, are they around here? Or
no. My oldest daughter, Mackenzie, lives in Denver. She was an equestrian.
Nice.
Went to college riding for the College of Charleston, which is a perennial top 5 team in the country.
Right.
They compete against Georgia and Bama and Florida and, all those schools. And her junior year, she won the nationals for them individually.
That's amazing.
So she was always into outdoors here, all that. So after college, she started working for the SeaWorld people and went to Hawaii and worked with dolphins, and then went to Orlando and work with dolphins down there. And then one day called and said, I've spent my entire life on the water. I want to try something different. I always hear you talking about Colorado.
Right.
I think I'm going to go out to the mountains. Do you know anybody out there? Well, yeah, I know a lot of people. So she moved out there and called me and said, hey, I've gotten pretty serious about this guy. I said, well, tell me about him. She said, well, he's a musician. I went, no. And he's a scratch golfer. And I thought, I got no leg to stand on here. So she got married 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
They live out in Colorado. And my youngest daughter, Madison, lives in New York City.
Okay.
She went away to boarding school. From the time she was 4 years old, she was on stage, all the little, shows like Annie, and as she got older, doing Peter Pan and blah, blah, blah. And kind of ran the table here and did as much as she could do here, and knew for her to get as much exposure as she could, she needed to go where you really need to go.
Yeah.
So there's 3 really good performing arts boarding schools in the country. Okay. She applied and got in all 3 of them and picked the one in Michigan called Interlochen. A lot of famous people went there. Year-round, very intensive training, as well as high school. And so she graduated and got a presidential scholarship, went to New York City to a theater program there. Graduated after 4 years, met an attorney from South Africa her senior year. They got married a couple of years ago, been together, 8-9 years. They're living a very, very large life in New York City.
New York City.
Yeah, and she's done very well, and he's a high-powered, overworked attorney in New York. Yeah.
They don't have any of those there. So any grandkids? Or no?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, and I'm not sure she'd want me to say this, but we're expecting our first in Christmas time.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
They were very secretive about that for quite a while and didn't want us to talk about it until, they reached a certain point in the progress. So, yeah, we're thrilled.
I totally get that. Question for you. Since you do spend most of your days in probably one of the most beautiful places on earth, when you go on vacation, do you go out to Denver or Colorado to kind of get away from everything, or where do Gregg and Lindy like to go to kind of just get away from?
Well, we've become cruise buffs.
Okay.
I've done so many cruises and find that kind of lifestyle very attractive. Like we're doing a 2-week river cruise in October. We're going to fly into Budapest, spend a few days there, jump on this small 120 passenger boat, cruise for 10 days or so up to Prague, spend a few days in Prague, fly back. And the thing I like about that is you get there and you unpack one time, but every day you're in a different charming little, city or village. And of course, back then, all the commerce was on the rivers. So you dock in downtown Vienna, let's say. You walk off the boat and 2 minutes later, you're in the heart of Vienna.
Right.
So we really, really enjoy that. Her older sister, Lindy's older sister, has a place down in the Bahamas in the Abacos.
Nice.
And every family vacation we've had together with our girls was spent down there. So we've probably been down there 100 times.
When you go there, I'm sure you've done it different ways, but do you ever boat over from Florida, or do you always
Never
fly in?
have.
Okay.
My brother-in-law is American Airlines retired captain. For the last 25 years, he's had a little 6-seat Piper Lance. Lindy and I both are pilots.
Really?
And he's a pilot, obviously. And so we have flown back and forth, which makes it very easy to get to. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get to.
Yeah.
It's in the Abacos. There's a little spit of land. You might see 10 people any given day, but miles and miles of beaches where there's no footprints. There's no tiki hut, no nothing.
Yeah, I heard. Well, one of my buddies, he goes bone fishing there, fly fishing.
It's wonderful.
And I told my wife that's what I want to do for my 50th birthday. I want to go to the Abacos and I want to go fly fishing. And
well, call me and I'll tell you where to go.
You got it.
Yeah,
I will get the Gregg Russell advice on that one. You've been on this island forever, and so you know all the ins and outs. So I'm originally from New Orleans, and I know all the underbelly of that city. What are some of your favorite places to just kind of go out and eat and chill and hang out around here? I'm just curious. Like while I'm in town, like if you're like, oh, James, you should go to Skull Creek Boathouse, or like.
It's hard to go wrong here.
Okay.
We're kind of homebodies. We've got a lot of friends that, on the weekends somebody will be cooking out or having a barbecue or whatever. During the off season, which started yesterday.
Yes, congratulations.
It's easier for us to go out and get around during the season. Yeah. I can kind of drop a name and get in most anywhere I want to go.
That's what I figured.
We have so many great restaurants here. It's so hard to pick from, peel and eat shrimp kind of place where you throw the shrimp peelings into the water because you're sitting on a dock over the water somewhere, to really fine dining. Sea Pines here. I don't know if you've been to the new quarterdeck.
No, so we tried to get in there actually the other night after your show, and unfortunately, but that place looks amazing. I mean, it's right there on the water. Is it good?
It's brand new.
Okay.
It's been there a couple of years now.
Yeah, I think it was being built the last time we were
with fantastic views, great food. Mm-hmm. In the Harbour Town Clubhouse downstairs, there's a great
restaurant
called The Lynx. There's a brand new oceanfront restaurant and indoor-outdoor dining there. And all of that has come around over the last 15 years by our owners here. Mm-hmm. When they bought Sea Pines from the previous owners, they came in and took out all the debt and bought it and just started rebuilding. This is 5 years old, this clubhouse
is only 5 years old? Okay.
Yeah, and they've put in, I don't know, probably a couple of $100 million into infrastructure and buildings and restaurants and redoing all the golf courses. I've called it the new golden age of Sea Pines. It is spectacular. Yeah. Now with the bike paths and the beaches and the pickleball and the tennis and everything there is here, you never have to leave here.
Right.
If you drive in through these gates and park your car, you can ride the trolley around, you can ride your bikes everywhere. It doesn't feel crowded. It doesn't seem crowded. It's just, where else would you go if you were somebody like me?
So are you and Lindy going to stay here?
I think, we love it here. Yep. We've got a great infrastructure of friends. At my age, you start thinking about doctors and, all that stuff that you need. Yeah. And the great thing for me, it doesn't matter if it's July or February. I go to Publix to the grocery store. It takes me an hour to go through the grocery store because I talk to everybody, or everybody wants to talk, and visit, which is so nice. It's got a very cool small town vibe. Mm-hmm. Now in the summer, obviously, there's a lot of people here. But during the rest of the year, it's I think you'll agree with me, it's fairly quiet and peaceful.
Yeah.
And, all the birds are here, the gators and the dolphins, and, it's a sanctuary. In the middle of Sea Pines, there's a 650-acre forest preserve. There's not a building, not a golf course, not a villa. There's no commercial anything in there. There's lakes. You can go in and go fishing and see every kind of bird you can imagine. Yeah. And Charles Fraser, I keep talking about Charles. I was very close to him. Who else carves out 650 acres in the middle of a resort like this? It's worth billions of dollars.
Right.
And he felt strongly enough about the environment to not take down trees, to not just carve out roads along the beach. The way he did it, he set the template for a lot of the major resorts around the world.
Yeah, no, we were out on the beach yesterday, and we're staying over in one of the second or third row homes, and it's 200 steps from the beach, and we go out there with the dogs, and we come back, and kids jump in the pool, and So we only took one car this time because we don't have our whole crew. But I was joking around with Amanda because we were supposed to leave. Today's Tuesday. We leave tomorrow. And I said, hey, are you okay driving my car back? And she's like, yeah, you don't feel like driving? I'm like, no, I think I might just stay here. For a minute. But no, we were saying too, because we always talk about it, because I'm turning 50, and that's part of what really inspired Retire Southern and Southern Character. It's not just for people in retirement. It's like when you're 50, like when you're 25, you're not thinking about retirement.
No.
But once you're 45, 50 years old, all of a sudden this starts to manifest itself. You're like, man, I got to retire somewhere. But I was, like Amanda and I were kind of looking around. We're at the beach, surf fishing. Oh, you'll appreciate this. This guy, I channeled my inner Gregg Russell yesterday. I used a child to get me out of trouble. We were at the beach, and I had the surf rod out, and my stepson was standing closer to the fishing rod than I was. And I fish a lot. I love fishing, so I know the rules. And I didn't have my phone with me, and I hadn't bought a license. But this, guy pulls up, and he's like, "Which one do you use fishing?" I was like, "I'm sorry." He's like, "Which one do you use fishing?" I was like, "The 10-year-old." He's like, "Good. How old is he?" I was like, "He's 10. He's like, "Good, because if you were fishing, that would be a $1,087 fine." And I was like, "Ouch. Yeah, well, no, it's him."
Good answer.
He's like, "Okay, let's just make sure it's him fishing." I'm like, "Good, all right." And he kind of like went away, and my wife was like, "James, did you get that fishing license?" I'm like, "No, I didn't get the fishing license." But I could totally see ours. I could see Amanda and I retiring here. It's that kind of place.
Well, we're lucky enough. We travel a lot, and I've been to most of the great resorts in the country. But there's something special about coming home where you feel connected to the community. And there's so many good people here. And if you want to be actively involved in charitable kind of stuff, you can.
Yep.
If you just want to hold up and be a hermit, you can here. But the people make it very, very special for us.
For sure. Thank you for bringing your guitar. I asked you to bring it, and the reason why I asked you to bring it is, and we don't have to do this if you don't want to, but at the end of your documentary, you played a song that maybe you said you had just written called "If This Old Tree Could Talk," which is the premise for the documentary. How long ago did you write that song? Was it pretty recently?
It's kind of been in the works for
a while.
For a while. You get an idea about something, and when we were talking about the documentary, I said, I don't even want my name in the title of this thing. It's really about the tree and that experience of being under the tree. So that got me thinking, if this old tree could talk, the story she could tell. And if it could talk, man, can you imagine the stories?
Well, I listened to it, and I got really emotional listening to that song, and I asked you to bring your guitar. I was going to ask you if you wouldn't mind playing a verse or two of that song.
Well, I could play something. I'm not sure I can play that. Let me grab the guitar.
Sure, yeah. So you have a 12-string Taylor. I was wondering.
Yeah, actually, this was a gift from Sea Pines.
Really? That's a beautiful guitar.
My 25th year, they presented this to me. And, I've written most of my kid songs and stuff, but I like to write stuff that maybe is not kids. Like, I do songs like Sandwiches and
the Unicorn
Is
song.
That a Booger and the Sugar? And, all that kind of stuff.
Of course.
But what I like... obviously, it's early in the morning. I haven't sung. But I think I did this the other night, maybe on Saturday night. My kids are all grown. They make me proud. They're on their own, living life out loud. They think I'm old school. Well, that's okay. I've learned a lesson or two along the way. I'm getting thin on the top, bigger in the middle. Corny old jokes make me grin and giggle. I cut my own grass, eat a Chick-fil-A, and if I wake up in the morning, that's a pretty good day. A little message there.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful.
I guess I could complain, but nobody listen. Got a honey-do list, but I'd rather go fishing. The weatherman said it might rain today, but that's all right. Still a pretty good day. getting thin on the top, bigger in the middle. Corny old jokes make me grin and giggle. Cut my own grass, eat a Chick-fil-A, and if I wake up in the morning, that's a real good day. You know, I like to put a little message in there somewhere.
For sure.
How about this? You know, we keep talking about Sea Pines and Hilton Head and how beautiful this place is. I don't think I ever sing this out. Did you see our little movie called Come Away Home?
Mm-hmm.
I sing one little verse of this. We needed a song for the movie. In my backyard, a Carolina moon can bring a grown man to his knees. In my backyard, an osprey circles overhead on a summer breeze. I've been a lot of places in this big wide world, but there's no place I have found where a man can reach up and touch the stars and keep his feet on solid ground. In my backyard, an oak tree stands beside the water, where smiling sons and daughters come to fill my life with songs. In my backyard, I made some friends to last forever. My life's been so much better since the day you came along. In my backyard, if home is where the heart is, then carry me away back to Carolina, where they'll bury me someday. In my backyard, beneath an oak tree by the water, where smiling sons and daughters will come and fill the night with songs. In my backyard, I've made some friends to last forever. It just don't get no better than knowing I belong in my backyard.
That's great, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Hard to sing at 10 o'clock in the morning.
You know what? I think you did a pretty good job. You know what? I think that's a pretty good place to wrap it for me. If I say anything else, I'm just going to mess it up. So, man, I really appreciate you taking the time. And what a special episode. If there was a Southern character that exhibits grit and grace, I would say it's Gregg Russell. So,
well, thank you. I have been blessed beyond belief with a great wife, great kids, great community, and a career that, you know, who gets to do this?
yeah.
Who gets this? I always like to say, who has it better than us? Nobody.
That's really special.
Nobody.
So hopefully, if you like this episode of Southern Character, it's a real special one. Definitely come out and see Gregg under the 325-year-old Liberty Oak Tree. Thanksgiving, Christmas time, two more shows this year, and got one more season at least, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll be there, God willing.
So thank you, sir, so much.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.